1:13 here. You're gonna have to excuse this. I was working in the kitchen. I got a little bit of water on me from the sink. But anyway, today's video is gonna be on another Ganzo knife. So this is the Ganzo G7393 GR. So this is similar to the other knife that I did a video on, the other Ganzo, only this one has the green G10 scales. And it has a blacked out blade. I'm trying to think whether this is exactly the same. I think it is. Let me do a quick check here. Let's see. I think this is, yeah. So well, actually, hold on. Okay, so the knife that I previously did a video on is the G7392. This is the G7393. So I think the only difference between the 392 and the 393 is the blacked out blade. But we're gonna look at the hardware and all that. So we'll go ahead here. Standard Ganzo felt pouch, you know the deal. I'm interested to see exactly how the action is on this brand new, because the last few I've gotten were a little stiff, and while not a big deal and I can adjust it out of the box, it's still kind of a pain. And I mean, like I said before in all these videos, I almost can't really complain because I'm paying $15 for a knife, and if I can get that knife, even with a little tweaking, working as smooth as a Benchmade, I mean, what the hell do I got to complain about? So this was interesting. I actually have another Ganzo that I didn't end up doing a video for, but that one didn't come with the little packet here. So again, it's nice to have this little packet, I guess. It's a warranty card. Not all of them come with it. And actually, apparently there's a 1-year warranty. I don't know if they'd actually ever honor that, but I'd be interested to see if they did, for sure. So anyway, we're not here for that. We're here for the knife. So move the camera just a tad down. Alright, so here's the knife. Alright, again, for size comparison, this is the Benchmade North Fork. Here is, let's try it. Ooh, that's not bad. I mean, the axis lock's still a little stiff. I can barely move it with one finger. But if I do both sides, it's not bad. And then, oh wow, look at, yo guys, this is actually pretty exciting. This is one of the smoothest first out of the box Ganzos that I think I've ever gotten. That is appallingly smooth. That is, I'm checking the blade centering is spot on. I don't know if you can see that. So again, in the action, in the pivot, they've got the same setup: one nylon and one copper brass phosphorus bushing. Wow, I can even do the lock flick. So on these, on Ganzos, the axis lock works a little bit different than the Benchmade. And really the way it works different is the fact that the cutout that the blade locks into when it locks closed is much smaller on the Ganzo. So in the Ganzo, it's only pretty much large enough for the locking pin on the axis lock pin itself to lock into. So you'll see that if I pull down the axis lock, it'll actually force the blade out, as you can see. Whereas on a Benchmade, you can actually pull it all the way down, and there's plenty of space in there. And then that allows you to pull the lock all the way down and then flick the blade open and then allow it to fall. So, but then again, here's the disadvantage. If you have your knife really loose it can actually bounce back out, and you'll see that happen because it doesn't lock back, as you see. Whereas on a Ganzo, it's harder to disengage the lock initially to sort of flick out, but if you have it drop back into place, let me do it better. It's still a little stiff, but you'll see that it locks into place. So I drop it into place, because unless you have that lock all the way down, and then it'll hit the pin instead of locking into place, and it will bounce out. If you have that lock even slightly out, only slightly above the fully locked position, it will lock into place and prevent the blade from bouncing off the stop and coming back out, as you can see. So again, sorry guys, if I drop it in, it won't bounce off. But anyway, guys, that is the Ganzo. So I have to say, we're going to take a look at sharpness here. And, you know, I've sharpened 440C. I've got no qualms about it. If anything, I'm actually dreading having to sharpen this blade. This is the S30V. From what I've heard, it's just terrible to sharpen. But you know, 440C all around, great to work with. Holds an edge pretty nice. We'll see how sharp it is from the factory. It's not bad. It feels like it's catching a little bit, but all things considered, that's still pretty sharp. My bad, guys. Something fell on my shelf. So you can see it catches a little bit. As you can see there, it's catching. But for the most part, I'm able to curl paper off of there. And it is basically push cutting. It's not push cutting as efficiently as it could maybe push cut, but I mean, you can see it is push cutting, even if it catches a little bit. So overall, I'm happy with this. I'm probably going to touch it up a little bit after using it a bit for sure. But you know, the grind is nice on here. The edge seems consistent throughout. I don't obviously feel any burrs on the blade, so you know, they did a good job finishing it up. Overall, I'm really impressed with this. You know, Ganzos always do come a little greasy, so the blade is a little greasy. But you know what? Before we make this video super long talking about bullshit, why don't we go ahead and I'll just demonstrate how I do the adjustment on these knives. So you take your torch driver here, and you're going to need for these knives T8 and T6. So we'll grab both of those. So here's our T6 bit. I'm going to take that first. And so T6 bits to remove the handle scales. Now these handle scales are put on really tight, and I don't want to strip out the screws, so I'm just trying to make sure of that. And the advantage with this design is, of course, if this handle scale gives me trouble, I can just pull the pin out. I mean, if this, not handle scale, this screw gives me trouble at the end here. Like if I don't feel like it's going to break, oh, there we go, I got it. If I don't feel like it was going to come out and I thought I was going to strip it, I could pop out the pivot bolt, a pivot pin there, and then sort of rotate the scale to loosen that screw at the end. That's the advantage of have this one get stuck. So as you can see, this one has come free. This side is the side that has the pin. The other side is the side that has the screw. You can also sort of, no, you really can't tell by looking at the screw. You have to tell by holding the blade with the cutting surface or the edge of the blade facing up and away, a tip away from you. And you will, the screw side will always be on your left. If we look at the back, we're going to have to remove the screws for the clip. So we got one. 2, 3. Oh, that's not good. It's popping out of place there. Man, they really do drive these things home. I'll tell you that. Okay, she's broken loose. I mean, I definitely think that a lot of people, and even manufacturers, do overkill these screws a bit. It's not like there's a. I mean, on these ones, I've seen on some of the Ganzos that I have that they put, they put Loctite on these, but I don't even see really any locking compound on these, and yet they're just torqued down so tight. All right, so this side's also come loose, as you can see, which is nice. So what we're going to do now is get our T8 bit and undo that pivot screw, which is, like I said, on the left side here. And that's going to allow us to adjust the axis lock omega springs. So we just go ahead and pull up, and there you go. So you can see the back of the G10 here. They really grease that stuff up, which is probably good for the, the liners and the whole frame here. So we'll pull out this omega spring, and it's definitely springing. It's definitely springing a lot here, as you can see. So the goal with these is to be careful when bending the springs too far. So not only do you have to be careful not to hyperextend the spring too far and then have it no longer spring, but on these ones, I will put it back into position so you can see what I'm talking about here. On this particular style of Ganzo, you'll see the grease outline. Here, I'll macro in for you. You can see the grease outline of where the handle scale sits. And if you hyperextend that spring just a little too far and it starts rubbing on that handle scale, game over. The smoothness completely gone, and your knife's not going to be worth much of anything because it's going to be stiff throughout the entire travel of the axis lock. So we're going to be real cautious here today. Going to go ahead and see how much distance we have to work with. And in fact, we don't have a lot, so I'm going to be as cautious as I can. Let me get the spring back in position so that I can get a read on it. Already, at least with this side, it almost already seems like it is rubbing already. So I may want to leave it alone. Because I can sort of see that it just barely sits flush with the... Well, we got a little room to play with here, so I will adjust it ever so slightly. Alright, that's all I'm going to do on this side. Because again, I really don't want to mess up my action here. Okay, still sits flush. That's good. The next side, so this side's a little harder, so what you want to do is once you take the handle scale off for this one, push the pivot pin out just a little bit, and then you'll be able to rotate the handle scale like this without having to basically remove the pivot pin and then have to try to align the washers and the blade. That gets kind of hectic. So for this one, you'll have a little bit less room to work with here, but I have to say they could have used shorter. Omega springs for this style of knife, because I know that they do have them. I have seen them in other knives they have. So, but again, we don't want to go crazy, because like I said, if it interferes with the handle scale, game over, right? So just want a very slight reduction. And you know, the mantra of less is more is really applicable in this situation. You do not want to overkill this. You can always do more. I have learned that the hard way. And actually, just check real quick that this part of the omega spring is sort of facing down, because if it pops out while the spring is, while it's in there, so to speak, that could also cause an issue. But basically, if the mounting point on the frame where the second part of the spring connects to provide tension pops off, then you essentially lose action of one or both of your springs. Oops. All right. So this side can be trickier because, of course, you have the scale to contend with here, and it's sort of in your way at times. But in my mind, it's still easier than trying to align the blade back up with the pivot, especially if you are someone who doesn't have a lot of patience. For sure, you know, if you're a real patient, calm type, then it might be acceptable for you. But all right, seeing as this is going to start rubbing soon, I think that is plenty for me. I don't want to mess with this action anymore. I'm going to go ahead and put it back together. I'm going to push that pivot, again, push that pivot back through there. Okay, we have our pivot through. And now we want to apply just one screw at either end here. So we're going to switch to our T6. And one screw at each end of the handle scales to sort of hold everything down until we can get the rest. And also this is just so that we can have a baseline so that we can test the action of the knife. So obviously the pivot is going to be loose because we don't have our pivot screw in yet. But I can say action is improved slightly. And you know, over time I'm guessing this will probably wear in. But I will say, you know, Ganzo, if you're watching, if you can't at least improve the spring tension from the factory, for sure it would be much appreciated if you guys could put smaller omega springs in here to begin with, so that we have a little bit more room for adjustment. Because again, if they start rubbing on the inside of the handle scale, it really starts to mess with the smoothness, and then it basically defeats the purpose of adjustment. So again, I'm going to continue with the reassembly now that I've checked the action is satisfactory. I really didn't have much more room to work with on the adjustment, so I didn't want to go any further. But that's basically the adjustment. So let's go ahead and put the handle scale screws back on. Again, you don't have to kill these. I'm just making sure they're tight. And then we'll, let's see, the pop clip should go on this side. I always dyslex that, so I'm just trying to make sure I got it right. Pocket clip goes there. Just make sure we got everything in position correctly. Center, outward, outward. Sort of evenly torque these so that none of them end up loose, because there's nothing worse than a pocket clip that starts coming loose while you're away from home and away from your tools. And I find that even sequential torquing, just like when working on lug nuts, is really helpful in this situation. Okay, we'll put our pivot screw and we'll adjust for optimum smoothness, and then, you know, again, we'll be up and away here. Let's check here. Ooh, that's tight. Definitely too tight. So let's reduce that. Okay, could loosen it a little more. I basically loosen it to as smooth as I can get it without blade play. So I think this might be the limit. We'll go a little more. It's alright to overshoot. And then I may have to Loctite this at some point. Wow. I'm not getting any blade play here. No blade play. And she's smoothing out. Okay, maybe a little blade play here. So we'll tighten it up just a little bit. I mean, this is so smooth. You know, if you compare it to the Benchmade, the Benchmade's obviously going to be smoother, and the axis lock is effortless on this one. Easy one thumb pull. I don't feel it cutting into my finger at all. I'd say on the Ganzo, it's a little stiff for sure. You always have to remember too that, you know, you can't pull the axis lock when the blade is closed, or easily anyway. If you do, you'll end up pushing the blade out, as you can see. So if you're going to test the strength of the axis lock spring, Omega springs, test it when it's open. You know, but when it's open, I'm pushing pretty hard and I can feel it on my thumb, but I'm still able to do it one-handed, for sure, even left-handed, which is my weaker hand. It might still be a little stiff in terms of the pivot screw, but if we do it one-handed, I can do it. If we do two-fingered, I mean, definitely can do it. Two-fingered is not a problem. So, I mean, and I'll often do that, even on my real Benchmade. So, I mean, preferably, I'd like the spring a little softer, but I find that on Ganzos, it won't lock as securely when it closes if the spring is, if the spring feels like a Benchmade in a sense, in terms of stiffness and difficulty of depressing. Then the lockup in terms of when you close the blade is not as good. So I find that when I have it like this, even though the spring's a little stiffer, it means that no matter what, this blade is not coming out unless I really give it a kick. And it's similar to the Benchmade, where it'll move, but it's not coming out unless I really give it a kick. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This has been my unboxing, first look, and adjustment at the Benchmade, what is this, the G7393 GR. And of course, GR being the green version. I will be posting another video of the all black version of this knife later today. Hopefully, I may not have it uploaded till tomorrow though. But either way, guys, Ganzo continues to amaze me with their impressive quality here, and I hope you guys can get yourself a Ganzo. And especially since the axis lock patent ran out in July for Benchmade. I mean, Ganzo could legally start selling these in the U.S. And they would be guilty of exactly 0 crimes, except for maybe if they actually copy the design of a knife. So they'd probably have to change up the designs and maybe make something of their own. But in terms of using the axis lock, they're no longer culpable. I mean, they're no longer responsible for. They wouldn't get in trouble in a sense. So tell me what you guys think in the comments. You know, whether you think Ganzo should really start, you know, making more knives. If they should start making, you know, more of their own designs and sort of not copying, or at least taking the best of all the other types of knives and sort of combining them into their own design. Because, again, my view is the value for one of these is incredible. I mean, I remember the days when I used to buy knives for $15, and this is back when $15 was worth a lot more, you know, maybe 10 years ago or something like that. And I just was continually disappointed by the pieces of shit that I bought. And I gotta say, this is downright impressive. I mean, this is flat out, no questions, impressive. For $15, I think I paid maybe $18 for this, but either way, okay, even if it's $20, for $20, this is such an incredible value that I cannot stress this enough. If you guys are out there looking for a knife, and your questions are, and again, I know this is the only Benchmade I currently I have, so it's not necessarily a fair comparison, but in terms of size and all that. But if you guys had $150 or 140, which is what I spent on this Benchmade, to spend on a knife, you know, get the Benchmade, right? But if you guys have $15 or $20 to spend on a knife, it's a no-brainer. Don't just type in folding knife on Amazon and click on the first piece of crap, you know, mass-produced, cheap Chinese knife you can find. Find something, you know, get a Ganzo, because if you're going to be spending only $15 on a knife, there's nothing better. I guarantee it. There's nothing better. And if you want something with carbon fiber on it and stuff, you can go on GearBest, and they actually have a carbon fiber version of this knife. Now, Ganzo, if you're watching this, I will say the best thing you could do is if you had the carbon fiber version of this knife, but also with the blacked out frame, with the blacked out liners, blacked out hardware, clip, and blade. Because I think the carbon fiber version of this is just like the standard stainless steel appearance version, with carbon fiber scales. But if you could make it all blacked out with a black carbon fiber, black clip, that would be a mean looking knife. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This video is long enough. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it. Give me a comment if you have any questions or comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos. I'll be seeing you.